Hey guys, welcome to the guide. So I'm just finishing up my Crash Bandicoot 2 machinima because I get bored with doing commentary all the time. Alright, I can't do commentary all the time. I get bored with it, so I make machinimas and do other stupid crap every once in a while. Anyways, this episode is about the political spectrum, like how people think the political spectrum works and all that. And like most people, they view it as like a line, right? Where you got like the crazy radical liberals over on the far left, which make up like 10% of the Democrats, and then you got the neo-Nazi, ultra-conservative Republicans on the right, which make up like 10% of the Republican Party, and then you got everybody in the middle, which is like 80%. But the problem is the 80% sit here and listen to the crazy 10% and let the crazy 10% like make up their minds for them, is pretty much what seems to happen. Anyways, I don't look at the political spectrum like that. I look at it like a circle, more or less, where the two crazies end up meeting up at the top. Because that's just how close they are together, okay? So, for example, you got your ultra-conservative, neo-Nazi Christians over on the far right, and then you got your ultra-liberal, crazy Muslim extremists over here on the far left. But if you put them in a circle, then they're like touching each other because they're pretty much the same people, right? I mean, if you go to a Muslim country, then instead of being a liberal Muslim terrorist, they're a conservative Muslim terrorist. So if you go to their country, then they get shifted to the far right, while neo-Nazi Christian dude gets shifted to the far left because in that country they're the liberal. So it all depends on how you look at it and which country you're looking at it from. We look at it from the United States perspective, but if we look at it from a Muslim's perspective, everything gets flipped. And to explain it even further, because like I'm a pretty free-thinking dude. Like, my mind's pretty open to new ideas, right? And I work at like DIA, an international airport. Like, I run into people from all different walks of life. So, yeah, this is just part of like what I personally see, is like an observation of what I personally see. So, like, okay, take a far right conservative Christian, right? Like, he's over there on the right, but like you start talking to the guy, right? You start talking to him. You have your little conversation. And then as you're talking to him, you kind of realize that he's kind of gay, right? And he's like trying to cover up that he's gay. Like, all of that like macho-ness and all of that showboating and gun-toting is just to compensate that he's kind of gay. Like, he might be bisexual, or he might be like whatever. And like, well, while I'm at this, why are like ultra-conservatives so afraid of sex, Have you ever noticed this? Like, they're like, sex is evil. You cannot have sex before marriage. And you're like, well, what is your deal with sex? Maybe they don't like sex. Do you ever think about that? Maybe they're gay, and they like sex with other men, but they don't necessarily like having sex with women. So, by putting that, like, sex is bad and sex is not good, it gives them a cover to hide behind. Now all of a sudden they start shifting over to the liberal side, right? They're no longer like these conservatives, they're kind of more liberals that just like guns. And then flip it to the other side, the liberal side, right? Because I work in the flight industry, okay? And like, male flight attendants, they're all gay. Have you ever noticed that? They're like, all male flight attendants in the United States are queerer than a $2 bill, right? They're just like, they are fag-tastic, I guess. I want to know why that happened too. Were like the pilots not getting any from the female flight attendants back in the day when the male flight attendants were straight? So like they started fucking typing up bad, evil reports about how the male flight attendants are, misbehaving to get rid of them, so then like the pilots can come in and start hitting on the female flight attendants. Because like, have you ever seen a pilot at the end of the flight where they're all like sitting outside of the cockpit, like they're doing something, And then you got the female flight attendant sitting there. All the pilot's doing is hitting on the female flight attendant. That's it. That's all the dude is doing. And you can tell because if the lead female flight attendant is ugly, then the pilot's nowhere to be found. But if she's hot, then the pilot's right there trying to talk to her. That's all he's doing, okay? Anyways, like the liberals, the gay guys, the fantastic liberals, right? They're all like gay rights and all that. These people should get along perfectly fine with the closet case Christians, right? Because like the closet case Christian can like be the man of the relationship, and then the fantastic liberal who's addicted to sex and like got himself into trouble because he was addicted to sex and like he found out that it's just easier to be fantastic and get a lot of sex that way than it is to be a straight guy. He can play the woman. These two should get along perfectly fine, right? But because they believe that they're on opposite end of the spectrums, they don't, because then they just set up their little, they dig their trenches and then they just throw poo at each other all day long. That's what happens. But if you put it in a circle, then they're right next to each other and you realize that like they're pretty much the same people. They just chose the opposite routes, but they came to the same conclusion. So, yeah, that's why I stick it in a circle, because it makes more sense to me like that, because that's pretty much how I see it. So, to explain the 10-80-10 law, it's pretty much what happened in the last presidential cycle, right? Okay, you got Hillary Clinton, far-left, liberal, Democrat, versus Donald Trump, far-right, conservative, Republican. They're both in like the 10% of Crazyville. And then there's the rest of us stuck in the middle, the 80%, and they're just tug-of-warring between the 80% trying to get most of the 80% on our side. Because us and the 80%, the guys stuck in the middle, we don't know who to vote for. We're just trying to decide who's the least stinky pile of crap. You know, that's pretty much what happened in that last presidential cycle. So anyways, to explain it further, the 10-80-10 law, it's pretty much, I'm a bank robber, right? I got a plan to do some Ocean's 11 shit. It's a good plan, I just need some help. So, I go out and I go asking for people. And like 10% of the population will say, no, I will never help you. There's nothing I can do to get them to help me. The other 10% of the population, they're already on board. Like, I don't even have to ask them, they just want in on it. And then 80% of the population, they just need to be talked into it. They just need some coaxing, and then they'll get on board. And then flip the script. I'm a cop, and I'm trying to stop a bank robber from doing some Ocean's 11 shit, right? 10% of the population will not help me. They will be like, no, just find somebody else. The other 10% of the population, they don't need to be asked. They just want in on it. And then the rest of the 80%, they just need to be talked into it. And then if it's a good plan, they'll probably jump on board. And that's pretty much what the political spectrum is nowadays. Is like we let the two most radical extreme sides of the political spectrum dominate the argument. And then us in the middle, we're just stuck picking between two extremes, which is not where you want to be at all. Like, where's the middleman? I mean, Bernie Sanders could have been it, but like, you know, he was going up against Hillary Clinton. Of course, Hillary Clinton was going to get the Democratic nomination. And I'm a Republican. Well, I'm more of a Republican than anything else. But like, if Bernie Sanders went up against Donald Trump in like the finals, I would have probably voted for Bernie Sanders over Trump. Like, even though I'm more of a Republican, and Bernie Sanders has some very iffy guns, like his thoughts on guns are very iffy to me, but like the rest of Bernie Sanders' plans was like way better than Donald Trump's or Hillary's. But unfortunately, everybody knew Hillary was going to get the Democratic nomination, so it didn't really matter. So yeah, that's my ramble for the day. You can like it, hate it, completely hate it, whatever, but you're going to be thinking about it for a while. So yeah, I guess I did my job. Thanks for watching.